Is there anybody offering a motion to adjourn?
Mayor,
Mr. Drinkwine.
One more item I want to talk about.
Okay.
And I want to address this issue about people coming in here with sidearms. Now, I understand that it is not unlawful for an individual to wear a sidearm, a registered sidearm in public. Something that's legal to carry, something that has had proper safety inspection, so on and so forth. I do not think that we have to allow people to come into this chamber, into this building, carrying sidearms. I think we can prevent them from doing that. And I think it's a travesty when we have a half a dozen people sitting out here with sidearms, and these things look like their magazines carry probably anywhere up to 14 or 15 rounds, and we've got one police officer sitting here, and we've got public out here who are wondering what's going on, thinking that these guys are police officers. No, I don't want to infringe on anybody's rights. I own handguns, I own shotguns, I hunt, I do all that stuff, but I don't carry a noticeable sidearm into a public building. The court wouldn't allow it. You couldn't carry that into other public buildings. Why are we allowing that here? I want this addressed. I want a safety procedure drawn up for this building. There are governmental buildings that require people to pass through metal detectors for just this kind of thing. And here we're sitting, and there's a half a dozen people coming up here, and I understand that they're trying to taunt us and trying to create some kind of an issue using the arts, eats, and beats thing. But I don't believe that we have to allow armed people, other than law enforcement people. You can't walk out into the court building out in Pontiac without. You can't walk in there with a cell phone, let alone a handgun, unless you're a police officer on a case. I want this thing. I want something drawn up by the city, and at the next commission meeting, I want security in this building. That woman we've got downstairs sitting at that table, she doesn't have to be scared out of her wits to have a half a dozen people walking by jovially with handguns on their sides, walking through the building like they own the place. That's nonsense. So, talk to whoever you got to talk to. If our police department can't come up with a solution to this, or don't agree that this can be somehow controlled, then call the sheriff down here. I don't care. But this is nonsense for these people to come in here and for us to sit by and simply say, well, gee, this is your right to carry a handgun. This is a governmental building. We make decisions here. Tempers flare. We have we get into disagreements all the time with the public, not just amongst ourselves. We need some security here, and there has to be some restrictions on who comes in here with what. I mean, I may as well start carrying a couple sidearms myself. We can all carry a sidearm next time and scare the hell out of everybody. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I would like some kind of a response before the next meeting from the city manager, from the police department, and I want some kind of a procedure put in place to secure this building when it's open to the public and when this board is in session, or any other board or any other night for that matter.
Mr. Razor.
I was, if that was a motion, I was going to second it. The emotions running through my mind in seeing that in this building were all not very positive, and the point that was being made was that we need to update those procedures, and I, during the meeting, sent an email to the manager asking him to do that. I don't think anybody in this building should have to feel that they're in fear of being shot or subject to any other sort of dangerous weapon, especially while we're making decisions of this type, especially when we have staff in the building. Tempers do flare. Tempers flare on the ZBA. When David and I were there, tempers flare in the audience. We do have to make decisions folks don't like. Public buildings do not have that kind of nonsense going on. The courthouse doesn't do it. There's no reason why we couldn't do that. And I'd like that to come up at the meeting next Monday.
Thank you, Mr. Razor.
I want to resolve before Monday. If 6 of those guys walked into the front desk, into the lobby of the police department, they'd be bringing people out and calling cars to come into the front door. You're not knowing what these guys are going to do. I don't know if those guns these people had were registered, were legal.
Mr. Bolton?
Yeah, right. People have the right under the law, but I mean, just when I'm at different courts, I mean, you have to go through security. So when I saw this fella here with his sidearm, I was kind of concerned about what was going on. So if the because this is a body, it's emotionally charged decisions we make, and I think we need to revise the policy in place. I mean, see how courts can do it. There's other facilities that have it. So I just think in this particular body, I mean, because we're making decisions affecting people's lives, I think we need to update the policy and maybe prohibit the bringing weapons into our field.
Mr. Johnson, Mr. Gillum, is that a request that we can fulfill by next week?
Certainly do the research and put together a plan as to what we can do legally.
Well, let me be clear on this, because I'm getting frustrated at this stonewalling on this issue. I'm not telling you to violate anybody's rights. What I'm simply telling you to do is, if we can prevent them from anybody from coming in here with a handgun in this building at all, we need to do that. And we need to put people in place or procedures in place to keep that from happening. If you guys come up and say these guys are perfectly within their right to walk anywhere they want in this building with a handgun, then I want a half a dozen policemen sitting in the back of this damn building when these guys are in here with a gun.
I don't want them in the back, Terry. I want them in the front row.
Huh?
I want them in the front
No,
row.
I want them to be able to see somebody. And I want whoever's sitting there from the police department to bring them up on the table here, not behind me. Let's go home.
Mr. Gillum?
Let's go ahead and air this out now, because, and I'm going to quote from Michigan Coalition for Responsible Gun Owners versus City of Ferndale. This is a case that was decided in 2003 by the Michigan Court of Appeals. And I'll just read the first paragraph. At issue in this case is whether local units of government are precluded from enacting and enforcing ordinances that make local public buildings gun-free zones. We hold that, and then there's a citation to the section of state law, preempts local regulation of this kind, and contrary to defendant City of Ferndale and City Clerk Karen Pedro's argument, another section of state law does not return to local units of government the authority to regulate in this area. Accordingly, we reverse the circuit court's order granting summary disposition in favor of the defendants, that is, in favor of the city, and upholding the validity of defendant's ordinance prohibiting the possession or concealment of firearms in municipal buildings. In other words, Ferndale adopted an ordinance to prohibit the kind of conduct that you saw tonight. The issue was challenged. It went up to the Court of Appeals, and the Court of Appeals struck down Ferndale's ordinance. So to the extent that we can provide additional security, I think the city can do that. But we are completely outside of our authority to try in any way to restrict the ability of these individuals to bring firearms into City Hall.
These guys walk in the